The lid of the coffin was still open when she leaned in. Black veil, trembling fingers, a performance so polished it almost deserved applause. Her breath brushed the satin lining as she whispered, "Careful, intimate, meant only for the dead." "Don't worry, man," she said softly. "We'll spend his millions better than he ever did." Her lover stood beside her, my brother's closest friend. His hand rested on her back like he owned the future already. I stood 2 steps away, close enough to hear everything, far enough to remain invisible. Then it happened. A sound came from inside the coffin. Low, dry, amused. A chuckle. Not loud, not dramatic. Just knowing. Her spine locked. His face drained. No one else noticed. Grief is loud. Shock is quiet. But I saw the moment their world cracked. Because that man in the coffin was not who they thought he was. And neither was I. I didn't cry at my twin brother's funeral. I watched. I watched the way her eyes kept drifting to the lawyer instead of the casket. I watched the way his friend, her lover, couldn't meet my gaze for more than a second. I watched greed leak through grief like oil through gauze. They thought the worst was over. They thought death closed doors. They were wrong. My brother and I shared a face, but not a soul. He was warmth, impulse, trust. I was precision, memory, patience. When he died, suddenly, tragically, officially, it shattered something in me. Not loudly, quietly, like a bone cracking under skin. They said it was a heart attack. 38 years old, perfect health, millions in assets. A tragedy wrapped too neatly. I noticed things no one else did. Her relief came faster than her tears. His visits didn't stop after the death. Phone calls ended when I entered rooms. Accounts moved, slowly, carefully. I didn't accuse. I archived. Grief gives you cover. People forgive silence when they think you're broken. I let them think that. At night, I lay in my brother's house, now hers, and replayed. Moments I'd dismissed years ago. Late dinners he couldn't explain. Trips she took alone. A friend who knew too much. I remembered a conversation from years back. My brother laughing, drunk, careless. "If I ever drop dead," he joked, "she'll be rich and in love within a month." We laughed then. I didn't laugh now. I didn't start with questions. I started with patterns. Phone records. Deleted messages recovered. A storage unit rented under his name. Her credit card. Inside, burner phones, cash, documents. Life insurance policies I'd never heard of. Beneficiaries recently changed. Not just her. Him too. They hadn't killed him. They'd waited. Encouraged the stress. The pressure. The indulgence. The pills she insisted were just supplements. She didn't need blood on her hands. Time did the work. I stayed calm. I smiled at dinners. Helped with paperwork. Played the grieving brother who wanted nothing but peace. Inside, something else was forming. Not rage. Design. I found the recordings last. My brother had been suspicious, too. Smarter than they thought. Careful enough to document everything once the puzzle clicked for him. Voicemails. Photos. A signed confession he never got to use. Because his heart failed before he could pull the trigger. Or so they thought. I listened to his voice late one night. Steady, but tired. "If you're hearing this," he said, "then I trusted the wrong people." "But you didn't." He left me everything. Not just money. Control. The report arrived in a thin envelope. No drama, no ceremony. Just truth, printed and verified. I invited her to sit at the kitchen table. Same place she'd served him poison wrapped as love. I slid the envelope across without a word. She opened it. "Read." Her hands started shaking before her face changed. "It's not," she began. I raised one finger. She stopped. Silence does more damage than shouting. "I know," I said quietly. Her lover stood frozen in the doorway, already understanding too late. The accounts were locked. The assets frozen. The trust irrevocable. Triggered upon death, or proof of betrayal. They had activated everything themselves. The chuckle in the coffin wasn't a miracle. It was a recording. My brother's voice. Timed, placed, final. He'd planned for this. So had I. The lawyer arrived an hour later. Not mine. Theirs. They watched as their future evaporated in real time. No inheritance, no access, no protection. The recordings went public. Careers ended. Reputations burned. I didn't raise my voice, didn't threaten, didn't need to. When she collapsed into tears, I felt nothing. When he tried to explain, I stood up. "I know," I said again, and walked out. The funeral ended without incident. No more whispers, no more laughter. I didn't visit the grave afterward. I didn't need to. Some things don't require mourning. As I drove away, I realized something had shifted. Not healed, clarified. Trust is a currency. Betrayal is a debt. And silence, used correctly, is a weapon. They thought death was the end. They forgot one thing: twins share a face. But memory survives everything. And I will never forget.